now Jess and Lenny, we have to get in I'd say we need to put in about 4 hours of No BS Active.
Oh,
and I don't feel bad about it, Jess, because the reason we're so behind is because of your wedding and your honeymoon. So,
whatever. Don't put that on me.
Well, it's true.
My big fat fabulous life fans adored Babs Thor, the wife of Glenn Thor, and the mother of Whitney Way Thor. But might he date again? Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, My Big Fat Fabulous Life. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Or will he simply seek companionship from someone closer to his own age? Will his daughter allow that to happen? Right now, she seems to be very protective of him. Actually, many TLC fans think she's so protective that she treats him like an overgrown toddler. My big fat fabulous life Glenn Thor has a good daughter. Plenty of fans think that MBFL star Whitney is a devoted and good daughter. After all, she really goes a long way in looking after him, loving, sweet, and overseeing his every need since his wife Babs passed away. Loyal fans give her kudos. However, he is not yet in his dosage, so critics think she coddles him too much. In fact, there seems to be nothing wrong with his mind. Glenn Thor sometimes gets a bit irritated with Whitney Way Thor. For example, he pulled a sarcastic one-liner about her making house calls when she cleared him or indoor skydiving. Obviously, he appreciates everything that his daughter does for him, and it's not been all that long since he lost Babs. But in time, might he seek companionship from a woman closer to his own age? MBFFL Glenn Thor loved more than one woman. My big fat fabulous life fans heard that when Whitney Way Thor's dad went to Asia with the military, he found a woman named Keiko. Plenty of servicemen did, and some children ensued. In fact, some people think Keiko may have had a son. Meanwhile, before his departure, he got a woman pregnant named Jackie, hence the storyline about Angie, so he might wish to take up a relationship again one day. MBFL fans on Reddit discussed the day that Glenn Thor might seek companionship with someone his own age. Super protective. Will his daughter even allow that? Some discussion centered around the way that she treats her friends poorly on occasion. So, anyone who gets close to her father might get a barbed reception. Getting close to the old man. Glenn Thor, my big fat fabulous life fans agree, might have a difficult time if he moves on with a woman. Whether for friendship or just close companionship, some TLC fans think that a lone who is not Babs might not wish to have Whitney constantly in their lives. The chances that there won't be friction seem unlikely. Still, if TLC aired Glenn dating again, the OP said, "I will pay to watch that." What do you think about Glenn Thor dating again? Is it likely at his age? Given Whitney Way Thor's close attachment to her dad, will she even allow it? Share what you think in the comments below. Check back soon for more updates on My Big Fat Fabulous Life. New episodes air on TLC on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Whitney Thor had always been the center of attention, whether she liked it or not. As the star of the hit reality TV show My Big Fat Fabulous Life, MBFFL, her life was under constant scrutiny. But despite the cameras, the fans, and the drama, there was one person who had always been by her side. Her best friend Glenn Thor. The two had been through thick and thin together, quite literally. They shared a bond that went beyond friendship. It was a connection forged through years of laughter, tears, and countless adventures. But lately, something had shifted between them. Something unspoken yet palpable. As Whitney sat in her cozy North Carolina home, flipping through old photo albums, she couldn't shake the feeling that things were changing. It had been almost a year since Glenn's last serious relationship ended, and Whitney couldn't help but wonder if it was time for him to dip his toes back into the dating pool. But the thought of Glenn dating again filled Whitney with a strange mix of emotions. Part excitement, part fear, and a whole lot of uncertainty. She had grown so accustomed to having him all to herself that the idea of sharing him with someone else was both thrilling and terrifying. Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from Glenn. "Hey Whit, mind if I swing by later? Got something important to talk to you about." Whitney's heart skipped a beat. She knew that tone all too well. It was the same one Glenn used whenever he had big news to share. With a nervous smile, she replied, "Of course. Can't wait to see you." As she waited for Glenn to arrive, Whitney couldn't help but wonder what he had to tell her. Little did she know, their reunion would set off a chain of events that would challenge their friendship in ways they never imagined. Chapter 2. Confessions. When Glenn arrived at Whitney's house later that evening, he was greeted with a warm hug and a steaming cup of coffee. As they settled onto the couch, Whitney couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. "So, spill it," she said, eyes wide with anticipation. "What's this big news you've been teasing me about?" Glenn took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to say. "Well, remember that girl I've been talking to online? The one from New York?" Whitney nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. She had heard Glenn mention this mysterious girl a few times before, but he had always been somewhat vague about their conversations. "Yeah, what about her?" Whitney prompted, her curiosity piqued. Glenn hesitated for a moment before blurting out, "Well, we've been talking for months now, and I think I'm ready to finally meet her in person." Whitney's smile faltered for just a moment before she forced it back into place. "Wow, that's great news, Glenn. I'm so happy for you." But behind her words, Whitney couldn't shake the feeling of unease that washed over her. She had always known that this day would come, that eventually Glenn would find someone who made him happy. But now that it was actually happening, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness deep within her heart. As Glenn continued to gush about his plans to fly out to New York to meet his mystery girl, Whitney couldn't help but wonder if she was ready to let him go. Chapter 3. The Decision. In the days that followed, Whitney found herself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, she wanted nothing more than for Glenn to find happiness and love, even if it meant letting him go. But on the other hand, the thought of losing her best friend left a gaping hole in her chest that she wasn't sure she could bear. As she paced back and forth in her living room, her mind raced with questions and doubts. What if Glenn fell head over heels for this girl and forgot all about her? What if their friendship was never the same again? But deep down, Whitney knew that she couldn't hold Glenn back, no matter how much it hurt. If she truly cared about him, she had to let him spread his wings and fly, even if it meant flying away from her. With a heavy heart, Whitney made her decision. She would support Glenn no matter what, even if it meant facing her own fears and insecurities head on. Because at the end of the day, true friendship meant putting the other person's happiness above your own. Chapter 4. New Beginnings. As Whitney sat down to write a heartfelt letter to Glenn, tears streamed down her cheeks. It wasn't easy letting go of someone who had been such a big part of her life for so long, but she knew it was the right thing to do. In her letter, Whitney poured out her feelings, expressing her love and gratitude for Glenn, and wishing him nothing but happiness in his new adventure. She knew that their friendship was strong enough to withstand any distance or time apart, and that no matter where life took them, they would always have each other's backs. With a deep breath, Whitney sealed the letter in an envelope and placed it on the kitchen table, ready to give to Glenn the next time she saw him. And as she wiped away her tears and composed herself, she couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over her. No matter what the future held, one thing was for certain. Whitney Thor would always be Glenn Thor's biggest cheerleader, no matter where his heart led him. And as she looked out the window at the starry night sky, Whitney couldn't help but smile at the thought of her best friend finding love at last. Epilogue. Love knows no bounds. Months passed, and Whitney's fears slowly began to fade away as she watched Glenn's relationship with his mystery girl blossom into something beautiful. Despite the distance between them, Glenn and his girlfriend seemed happier than ever, their love transcending time and space. And as Whitney stood by their side on their wedding day, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks, she knew that she had made the right decision all those months ago. Because true friendship wasn't about holding on tight. It was about letting go and trusting that love would always find a way. As Glenn and his new wife danced beneath the twinkling lights, Whitney couldn't help but feel a sense of pride swell within her chest. Because even though their journey had been filled with twists and turns, one thing remained constant. Their bond was unbreakable, forged in the fires of friendship and love. And as the music swirled around them, Whitney Thor smiled, knowing that no matter where life took them, she would always be Glenn Thor's MBFFL.